Hey there, what you up to now? Day 1043. Sharon Hornhouse from here, sharing my journey as I transition from the brick and mortar corporate world of business to the online world. Spent 47 years, I like to whisper it because it's so many, in uh, business, running my own businesses and in like 27 different industries, and over a quarter century of that simultaneously working in corporate America for really some of the coolest corporations in the world, some of the coolest businesses in the world, where talk about a place to learn different skills, different abilities, different opportunities. The resources in big corporations are mind blowing, the access to resources. And I didn't realize that until in like 2004, once and for all left corporate America and shot out on my own. And I realized the biggest thing that I missed was the incredible access to virtually unlimited resources working for a bigger company. Sometimes you had to jump through hoops and get permission to do things. But if you had a computer question, all you did was pick up the phone or walk to the IT department and say, hey, this is what's going on. Can you help me with this? And they would help you, if not just take over the problem and solve it for you. I, I really missed that because IT and information technology and data, I worked a lot with it and did, statistical analysis and things in my corporate roles, but actually having to do the workings and the computers behind it was always a really big challenge for me. So that is one of the biggest things I will always admit that I missed from corporate America was access to human and knowledge and any kind of physical resource that I would need to do my job. And I had to figure out how to create that on my own in my own businesses once I left that environment. So today I'm thinking about why does the idiom all's well that ends well apply? How do I know with 100% certainty that things will end up okay? A lot of reasons. Mainly vast experience having screwed things up and had to untangle and fix them along the way. Well, all's well that ends well is an idiom that, of course, means that the end turns out well or good, even though there's been bumps along the road. Doesn't that describe all of our lives? I know very few people, if anyone, who has led a 100% problem-free, worry-free, stress-free life. Even my grandmother, who's 99 when she passed away, she was just a month shy, a little over a month shy of her 100th birthday, and we lost her last year. Even she, who had a pretty good life, didn't have a super easy life. She was born in 1919, so she lived through a lot, right? She lived through the World Wars, she lived through the Depression, she lived through lots of trials and tribulations. She had 5 daughters. So do you think there were maybe some challenges that she faced? Yet she led this incredibly positive, inspirational life for all of those in her family. She had 15 grandchildren. I don't remember, I lost track of how many great grandchildren and great great grandchildren. I think like 9 or 10 great great grandchildren. Anyway, big family, right? We ended up being a big, good Catholic family. But her life ended up well, and she had a good life. If you asked her, she had a good life despite the challenges and trials and tribulations that she went through. And all of us do. Now, I think maybe if I had actually passed away when I had my sudden cardiac arrest at 50, maybe my impression of I had a good life would have been different because I had that physical challenge in a very trying time in my life, not just in one area of my life, but in at least 5 areas of my life, if not all 7. I was having challenges and struggles. And that's part of what I believe created the sudden cardiac arrest in my life. But now, as I look back at that, since I'm still here to talk about it, I have really led a good life. Have there been more challenges since that? And will there be for the rest of my life? Absolutely. But that's kind of what gives our life flavor. That's kind of what gives us growth and development and puts a little bit of the juice in our life, right? If everything just goes along smoothly and nothing ever challenges us, we don't ever change. We don't ever look at ourselves and say, geez, well, how would I respond to that? And how could I respond in a positive way that makes me a better human being? And if we have no bumps in our road, if everything's just smooth sailing, which we all think we want that. And I've had periods in my life where it was smooth sailing and everything was just clicking along on all 4 cylinders. Guess what? It's really, really boring. You tend to get bored in those times because you have to purposefully seek out personal growth and development. And some people do that, some people don't. But I find it's really challenging when I'm in a situation where everything is just clicking along, clicking along, clicking along, because it gets boring and we get lazy. We tend to celebrate when we have successes, but ponder when we have challenges or failures or bumps in the road or setbacks. And I say better to ponder and keep moving forward toward what we want than party and relax and forget and start to go backwards and be moving in the direction away from what we want than moving toward what we want. So all's well that ends well. Love to know your thoughts on that. Do you believe with 100% certainty in your heart that in the long run, all's well that ends well, that things will turn out for you, that the universe supports you, that everything is going to some kind of plan that we don't understand, but we know that everything that happens is for our own personal growth and development? I'll tell you, when I've been in some of those situations, it definitely didn't feel good or like it was for my own personal growth and development. But all of those times, all of those hardships, all of the worst moments of my life have proven to me, number one, that I can get through it. Number two, that I'm more resilient and more capable and more in control than I ever thought possible. And that gives me more hope and more motivation to continue to move toward what it is that I want in life. And it's part of one of the reasons that I love challenges. Speaking of challenges, Get Up and Go challenge today was about the 7 whys and how we can learn more about ourselves by asking a series of 7 questions why. So we can do this. We can think of something that we want. I want, and I like it to be something that I have a modicum of control over. If I say I want world peace, I have a modicum of control over that in that I can control my impact on world peace. But do I have the capability to singularly and solely create world peace in the entire planet? Yeah, probably not so much. A little bit more of a stretch than I am willing to commit to. But I can pick a goal or an objective or something that I want, something that's really important to me. And I can ask myself, why do I want that? And I can ask myself that question over and over again. A lot of people teach the 5 whys. I can't remember where that came from. I've done it for so long, I don't even remember where I initially learned it. But this year, I was exposed to a training by Dean Graziosi. And again, I can't remember where he even got it, but I think he got it in Genius Network or something. And one of the members was teaching about 7 whys instead of 5 whys. And I didn't think, like Dean was skeptical, I didn't think it would really make that much difference. But I did it a couple of times on a couple of things that I want. And I realized that it really did. Those last 2 whys made me really dig down and say, okay, well, what is my real desire or motivation for this? And one that surprised me was I didn't want to feel stupid. And another one was I want to be in control. Well, and then when we get to that, we can say, well, I wonder where that came from. Because the stupid one, it was a little bit of a surprise the first time it came up. And I'm like, well, where'd that come from? And then I realized that back in 2nd grade, I had an experience that made me feel stupid. And then that experience, instead of letting it go and saying, that's just a one-time thing, I, as a kid does, and we do as children, continue to pile things onto that, experiences or things that people said or did that had nothing to do with me being stupid. I would say, oh, that's just because I'm stupid, right? And we would pile that on. And so the 7 whys actually got to looking at that and saying, okay, yeah, in 2nd grade that happened. Does that mean that it's proof that forever I'm stupid? Absolutely not. So then I reversed that and I piled on, okay, well, what are some reasons that I can prove that I'm not stupid or that I am in control? And that's one of the key things and the fun things about the 7 whys is it makes us wise about ourselves. It helps us see things about ourselves that we normally don't look at and don't see. I have been living as if I'm stupid for a lot of years and not even realizing it because it's a program or a belief that's just running automatically like a computer virus in my subconscious, just running over and over and over again. Isn't it awesome that computers were developed and that GPS and things were developed so we have things we can compare our thoughts to that other people understand and can visualize as well. When I say, hey, it's like having your own personal GPS, people get that because they're like, oh, something that tells me directions to get from where I am to where I want to go. That's a GPS. Well, before we had GPS, you had to explain that to people in the longer way. Well, that's something that helps you step by step to get from where you are to where you want to go. Now I can just say GPS and people understand and visualize that. So it's one of my favorite days of the challenge. I've done it since I learned about it in January from Dean Graziosi, I have done the 7 Whys exercise actually at least a dozen times, maybe more, on different things that I'm looking at. And it helps me to be on my own path of personal development and personal growth. Because if I understand myself better, I understand what I need to do differently, how I need to improve, what I need to grow, where I want to grow, or where I'm doing things okay and well, and I want to build on those. It's always cool when we understand ourselves better. Sometimes we got to look in the mirror and say, oh my God, I can't believe how silly I've been about that for all these years. Because sometimes those are the ahas. I'll never forget coming out of my sudden cardiac arrest. I realized that my primary question was WTF, not a very empowering primary question to have in your life. And that helped me to see finally and realize that a lot of the things that I was super upset about and that were causing me stress and challenges were of my own creation. That's a scary thought, right? That we actually create problems and challenges for ourselves because of what we think and believe about certain situations. And instead of looking into them deeply and finding out, okay, what the heck's really going on here, we make assumptions. And when we make assumptions, we lead ourselves down a path of belief and thoughts and feelings that maybe just founded in our own imagination, which isn't really necessarily a great idea. That's why I encourage people to think for themselves and step back and look at the big picture, look at things from a different, broader perspective, because I know how powerful that's been for me and how much that has helped me in my stinking thinking, because we all have stinking thinking about certain things. But mostly when we have false beliefs or stinking thinking, we don't think that they're false beliefs or stinking thinking. We just think there are beliefs, right? There are beliefs about ourselves. There are beliefs about what we're capable of. There are beliefs about everything and everyone else on the planet. So we need to sometimes just think and stop and say, okay, is this true for me still? Does this really even make sense for me? Well, why do I believe that? Why do I believe that? Why do I think that? Why do I want to continue to believe that? And it's really incredible what happens when you realize that you can look at a belief that you've had your entire life and you can say, where does that come from? Who does that belong to? Because what we find out about a lot of our beliefs is that we didn't ever consciously choose to believe them. We accepted them and added them to our belief system because of an event that happened in our life, probably before we were 5 or when we were little, or before we even realized that we were taking that in and that was becoming a foundational belief for us. I never consciously decided that I was out of control or that I was stupid and that I couldn't control anything and I was stupid and other people needed to think for me. I never consciously said, oh yeah, I'm going to believe that. But certain events and experiences happened and those beliefs got locked into my subconscious. And as humans, our brain and our subconscious is always piling on evidence to support our beliefs. Whether those beliefs are true or not, whether we purposefully said, I believe this or not. And that's why it's so important once in a while to just say, realize and notice a belief we have and say, do I see why I've had that belief all these years. Do I want to continue to have that belief going forward? And if I don't, what am I going to replace it with? What's my new belief? What's my new definition? What's my new way of looking at things that is going to move me faster toward what I want? Because this belief, yeah, I see how it's been operating so far, and it is not serving me or working for me anymore. All right, I'm off on a tangent. So that was Get Up and Go Challenge today, was all about the 7 Whys. Great exercise. If you've never used it, if you've never done it and you want more information about it, I invite you to go to the Get Up and Go Challenge page because there are at least 4 or 5 videos on that topic. At least 4 or 5 videos. So you could just search in the little search bar and say 7 Whys and you'll get a bunch of more in-depth examples and videos of how to use that particular strategy or technique. Or just hit me up in the comments below and ask, and I'll get you a link to it. Or to one of the videos or something. I don't know which one's best. I don't really go back and watch my videos. So, 7 Whys. Fun challenge today was about friendship and about making a new friend. A nice quote from Laura Ingalls Wilder in one of her books. Little House in the Ozarks, I think it was. Supersize Your Business today was All's Well That Ends Well. Obviously, been talking about All's Well That Ends Well as part of the Get Up and Go Challenge as well. So those are the 3 main pieces of content. Actually becomes 5 that I create every day. And that's just my way of keeping going and giving back and moving through the crazy year that's been 2020. I don't know anybody that would say 2020 has been a piece of cake. And for me, it's been pretty much a piece of cake compared to other people, but it's not been without adjustment and change and challenges and life lessons and being very intentional about what I am doing, what I'm working on, what I'm focusing on. Because if I'm not, it's easy to get sucked into the energy of what's going on around us. And there's a lot of just chaotic, crazy, misinformation, negative energy going on around us. And I want to make sure that I, as much as possible, choose not to participate in that. Do I get sucked in like a vacuum, like everybody else, every once in a while? Yes, absolutely. Do I want to? No, I don't want to. So I have to find ways to protect myself from getting sucked in. You know, it's like people that are prone to addictions. They have to do things differently to make sure that they aren't tempted, right? I'm not a big drinker. Drank when I was younger and in college and stuff, but once I had my kids, it was like, yeah, this is all over. I'm not going to be a big drinker because I don't know about you, but kids get up the same time in my life every day, which is usually bright and early. And I knew that having a hangover was never going to work with that. So pretty much don't drink. I'm not going to say I don't have any bad habits. I am addicted to sea salt caramels. There's no doubt about that. But over time, we put ourselves in situations that support us. At least we, for the most part, want to put ourselves in situations, surround ourselves with people, make choices and decisions and things that are for our benefit, easy for us to make, right? So we stay out of, people are worried about rioting and crime. And I live close to one of the cities that has been hardest hit in 2020 by all of the drama of 2020. And I just choose not to go anywhere near that area. Now, COVID's made it easier to stay home and stay away from it, but I also intentionally just stay away from it. So I don't have to be afraid. So I don't have to worry. So I don't have to, be as concerned as some people maybe have to go there every day still to work, COVID or no COVID, they still have to work there. So we do what we can do with what we've got right now. It's one of my favorite sayings this year. Think for yourself. It's one of my favorite sayings this year. Do what you can do with what you've got right now is one of my favorite sayings this year. Maybe at the end of the year, I'll do a biggest lessons learned from 2020. Me personally, what are my biggest lessons learned and my biggest takeaways from the chaos and the craziness of 2020? That sounds like a good end of the year. Maybe we'll do a live or a Zoom call or something, but we'll do an end of the year something. All right. I have got a lot of work to do. I've got tons of projects, tons of things that are going on right now, projects with other people and projects of my own. Again, as part of this final Get Up and Go challenge, I'm putting out the framework for the Challenge Summit, early next year Challenge Summit. And I need to do a lot of, or get help doing a lot of mechanical things with respect to that, that I don't normally do in my challenges. I have a minimalist idea for the challenges that I personally lead. And it's part of why I leave everything up there. I take the things that irritate me about the way other people do things, and I take those things out of the way I do things. One of the biggest lessons I've learned going from the offline world to the online world is that there's a huge emphasis on marketing and sales in the online world, a much bigger emphasis than in the offline world. In the offline world and in corporate America, the sales department still thinks that they're king and the gods of the organization. I don't know about the corporations that you've worked for, but the majority of the ones that I worked for, sales seems to think that they are the prima donnas and the kings and queens of any organization. I work predominantly in manufacturing for my corporate career, and it was always this little, in big corporations, I used to call it the tower mentality, and I observed it and experienced it a lot because the bigger an organization gets, they tend to separate by function. And the more they separate by function, the higher up the organization you have to go to communicate across lines. At least when I was in corporate America, that's how it was. As a lower manager in one function, it wasn't okay necessarily to just call your peer in the other function and ask them questions or do things. Now, some of us are rule breakers and did that all the time. For the most part, the corporate culture was you need to go up a certain level, and then your vice president has to talk to the vice president of that department if you want to get any projects or anything done through them. It was very mind-boggling and very frustrating. So I didn't do it very often. Kind of just did my own thing, which is why I loved being in quality, because quality, in my definition, the organizations I worked in, has permission to stick their nose in anybody's business in any department at any level at any time, because it's all about everyone in the organization needs to come together and contribute to the best of their ability to the quality of the next department that they're serving, because we all have customers, internal customers, as well as the final external customer. So for me, that definition worked for me. And every company I worked for, I went in saying, hey, this is my definition of quality. Is there going to be a problem with that? Some people had a problem with it, but usually I got away with it, right? Very seldom did I not get away with just going directly to the source, which, guess what? Going directly to the source is usually the best way to find out the truth, right? You know, we want to look at the source. We don't want to look at everybody's version of what they think happened. We want to go directly to the source and say, or watch, so we can think for ourselves. All right. So I got off topic. I'm going to sign off. If you have any questions, if I can help you in any way, hit me up in the comments below or direct message me. Otherwise, I'll be with you tomorrow to share what I'm working on, what's working, what's not, what's crazy, what's goofy. I think I was talking about that because I don't like the way other people do challenges in certain aspects. I'm talking about how I keep content up, and it's always available. So if you want it, just go to the Get Up and Go Challenge page, or if you want it organized, go to the Get Up and Go Challenge group and join the private group, because there is where we can really get personal, and we can share things that everybody else isn't going to see, right? We keep that group small. We keep it private so that you can go there, you can ask questions, you can share, and you don't have to worry about what other people are going to think. Like, how many people are going to say, hey, I had this deep-seated belief that I'm stupid. If you want to be an influencer or convince other people or talk to other people or be a leader in any organization, how many leaders in your organizations, any type of organization, have ever said, hey, I feel stupid, or I feel like I'm out of control sometimes? Not very many, right? Why? Because everybody feels that way, but nobody wants to admit it. All right, have an awesome day. I will be with you tomorrow.